Alright, this one here is a 2007 Mazda 6. No check engine light or anything. But the problem I have is it's surging. And you can see kind of see it. It's worse when it's cold. I've had it running for a while because I was checking some stuff, but it's a couple hundred RPM, not even really showing up on the tack that well. See if you can get a listen to that. It does it worse at higher cruise speeds as well. Worse cold after it goes into closed loop. I'll try to get it up into a higher RPM, see if you can hear it. Don't know if you can hear it. You can see the needle bouncing a little bit above 2. Anyway, don't know if any of that will make it, but I want to show you what I'm messing with. Alright, if I go into data display, go to fuel trim, it's a automatic car California emissions, and if you look at my data stream, for a while I got thrown off because the top one here, O2 sensor 1 milliamp, and usually when I see that I'm thinking just a heater milliamp control, but it's actually not. This is a, I don't know, wideband air fuel ratio sensor. And then you have the oxygen sensor, bank 1, sensor 2. And then if you look at my fuel trim, it's jumping around all over the place. The long term's at 0. So just to get all the junk out of the way, I just wanted to get to the ones we were looking at. So oxygen sensor 1, 2, short term, long term. And we'll measure those. And then what I did is I went to graph all 4, and I think I'm on like a 8x zoom, so it's showing. Now if you look at my bottom left, my short-term fuel trim is going from -15 to +25, and it's kind of following the milliamp current draw of my oxygen sensor, and then the rear one's just staying where it was. Kind of is, almost looks like at least have a good converter. In the long term, it doesn't know what to do with the short term, so it's not doing anything. So what I was doing is if I were to take and create a vacuum leak, you see my short term percentage go up to +25%, which you would think. And then you see my rear oxygen sensors go to 0.05 and flatline low, which is what you would think. And then, my milliamp for the front oxygen sensor, I don't really know a whole lot about them, but I'm just showing this because I think I just have a bad oxygen sensor causing this. Now if I take a little bit of something flammable here, some carbon throttle body cleaner, and I spray it into my vacuum leak and make the car run rough, you can see my rear oxygen sensor going up to 900 millivolts, so it's reading it, and my short term dropped for a second. I'll spray it again. Sprayed it in there, you see my short term drop, so it's going the way it should. So I did find a bulletin on these about just the surge in general caused by the oxygen sensor. And I tried to do a low current amp probe. I have, my Advantage hooked up here, but I was really getting the same thing, like, you know, -2 milliamps to +3 milliamps. So it's kind of showing what the scanner's showing, and you can see my scale. I can only do a 500 milliamp scale, so you're not seeing anything on a graph. I could just see it in the top there where it's bouncing back and forth just from whatever. So it really wasn't showing me anything good. So I know whenever, let's see, how also is when I create the vacuum leak and I'm running, you know, full rich according to my, or full lean, and it's trying to richen it up according to my short-term fuel trim, the surging is gone, but I'm definitely running lean. You can see that, and it looks like lean may be, you know, a high milliamp. I guess that's considered high because the flow chart, let me show you whenever I spray a little bit more carb clean in there. When I spray the richening agent in there, it goes to the negative. So I don't know if this scale is right, but when I hook my vacuum leak back up and everything goes back to the way it was, it starts surging again. And the same thing I'll show you on this here, the same thing that Mitchell said as far as testing it. If I go to, get over there, previous vehicles, I looked up the Mazda fuel injection, oxygen sensors, Federal, California, front, center. That's not the one I was on. That's not the one I was on. California, there we go. I don't know what the center one is, I never found it. I went to the front, go to sensor test, response test, and it says this. There's no means of testing it. So they want you to drive the vehicle and decelerate from 3,000 RPM with the fully closed throttle and verify that the current goes to about 0.25 milliamp. So I'm assuming that's going to be your lean with the fuel cut on decel, because if you go over here and I make my vacuum leak to where my rear one responds lean, actually no, it's not, it's the other way. So maybe that's the initial rich whenever you, I have no idea. I'll show you the graph. But it looks like for me when I'm going lean, well at least now my oxygen sensor is reading, you know, 1.9. So I'm gonna put one in and then we'll see what the readings are. And then I'll get that chart too and then go from there. The other thing, real quick, like with my vacuum leak, it smooths out, and whenever I plug it back in, it starts surging again. If I disconnect the oxygen sensor, it stops surging as well. I'll just set code. So that was the bulletin. So let's put one in and see what we got. So there's the sensor number. This is my used car guy. He got this online because the Denso, or the, what's this, NTK, I don't even know what it is, but that's a Denso number. And the I don't know, whatever one Advanced was selling was like $150, and he found this one for $80. It has a green wire and it has two separate connectors. I believe this one here with the blue and the white or yellow, whatever that is, that's your heater circuit, and then these three on this connector are the control side. So it's definitely a odd sensor as far as the connector ends go. So we'll throw this puppy in and check out the readings. Alright, the sensor's in. It's actually not surging. It's running a little bit slower than I thought it would. But if you look at my numbers, now I'm kind of flatlining everywhere. So actually you can even see now my long-term fuel trim is at 7%. So some of that junk I threw in the vacuum leak or whatever is probably in there burning it out. Or I have a small vacuum leak or something, but I'm not really concerned about 6%. So here we go. At idle, on my milliamps, I'm at 0.6 instead of whatever I was at before. I was all over the place. So if I create a vacuum leak, I'll pull this back off, create a vacuum leak, and you can see my rear O2 go down to 0 almost, and you can see, okay, now that's acting, it went up to 1.9 or 0.2. So, and you can see my short-term fuel trim, it went positive 25, so it sees the leak. If I leave it there long enough, my long-term will start climbing. I don't know if I feel like sitting here that long. Nope, I don't. So I'm at 0.3 milliamps on my O2, but it's not surging back and forth. So if I let's just try making it rich here real quick. So I'll go grab my junk in a can, and I'm going to try to richen up the mixture a little bit, get it to run rough. And it's doing kind of what it was doing before, other than moving around everywhere. So try it again. I'll richen it up, get the engine to run rough. You can see my O2 milliamp goes, it drops a little bit, but it's not nowhere near as bad as I was seeing. So it goes into the negatives when it's rich. So it's, I guess, backwards from a regular oxygen sensor where the rich is high and lean is low. So there you go. Still stuck at 25% with my vacuum leaks. Fixed my vacuum leak, plug it back in, my numbers climb down, idling, and I don't have that sweep. I guess that was the fault in my air fuel ratio sensor, it was just sweeping, and the short term didn't know what to do, so it went positive and negative, just followed it. So there you go. Not ultra technical, but found a bulletin, and I always like to either prove it to myself or at least prove that the fix was right. So it's not surging anymore, and you can call this one fixed. Thanks for watching.